he was very kind.
Do you think Walmart can turn into Sears?
Well, not for a long time.
Charlie, do you think business moats are becoming more fragile with technology and transparency?
Well, our ancestors were pretty good at creating fragile moats too. I think it's natural that what's up in one era. Think of what I've lived through in terms of people. DuPont looked impregnable. General Motors was the strongest corporation in the world. Kodak was one of the boom, boom, but they're gone. Xerox. I mean, it is hard to keep winning. And the world keeps changing. Look, the Daily Journal, it's hard. Imagine going into computer programming, dealing with a lot of agencies all over the world, including South Australia. A little company like this is not a bit easy. And if we hadn't done it, we'd just be one more dying newspaper. And
Can you talk more about the airlines and what's changed from a couple of decades ago to now?
well, I don't know that much about it, but I do know that it's more concentrated now, and there's no real substitute for it. It isn't like we have a substitute for air travel, and it's down to a relatively few players. In the old days, they could always start a new airline. They hire nothing but young people. They pay the pilots less. They don't have a union, and they could just start hitting the prices. They just kept ruining the business over and over again. And even now, Southwest is just starting to go to Hawaii, so the vicious competition is continuing, including people doing it for governments own these airlines and do it to show off how strong they are. So I don't regard it as a perfect model, and I don't think it's the greatest idea we ever had. It's just something that, considering how pounded they were and how the world has changed a little, we thought, as I say, we had a little advantage by that particular gamble. But it is not that it's not a cinch.
Is there an outlook on oil prices embedded in that investment?
I don't think oil prices will make that much difference over the long term. It's not that. If the kerosene doubles in price, I don't think over time, I don't think it matters that much to the airlines. It's still, it's you put 100 people in an airliner and fly somewhere, it's pretty efficient. And you can do a lot of flights per day, and it's worth a lot of money. People will take the trip. And not going to be a new airport in Shanghai, you know. A lot of the airports are fixed, and a lot of them are out of capacity. It's obviously better than it was in the past. Whether it's good enough so it will do well, I don't know. Also, if it starts working, you get paid in advance for the tickets, so there's no credit. A lot of people lease the airliners, so that if you make money, you can pile up pretty rapidly in cash.
Is there a reason JetBlue wasn't in there?
I don't know anything about individual airlines. Neither does we bought a bunch.
I know.
You know, it was a sector bet. It's not a bet on an individual airline.
When industries like airlines or railroads rationalize and turn around, how do you and Warren know? I mean, have you
We
been
don't
keeping up
know.
with it for 50 years?
It was easy to say. In the railroad, we waited until it was all over, and then we went in. And the airlines, it's not over, but it's a little bit the same story. Years of consolidation and bankruptcies. 3, 4, 5, 6 big bankruptcies already in the airlines.
So for 50 years, you've continually read about these industries even though you have disdain for them.
Yes, I talked about patience. I read Barron's for 50 years. In 50 years, I found one investment opportunity in Barron's, out of which I made about $80 million with almost no risk. I took the $80 million and gave it to Lilo, who turned it into $400 or $500 million. So I have made $400 or $500 million out of reading Barron's for 50 years and following one idea. Now that doesn't help you very much, does it? I'm sorry, but that's the way it really happened. If you can't do it, I didn't have a lot of ideas. I didn't find them that easily, but I did pounce on one.
Which one was that? Which idea was that?
It was a little automotive supply company. Anyway, it was a cigar butt.
Is that KNW?
No. This was, I've forgotten the name of it, but it was the Monroe shock absorber and all that stuff. The stock was $1, and the junk bonds was paid 11 3/8%, were 35. And when I bought the junk bonds, they paid me the 35%, and they went right to 107 when they called. You know, it was, and then the stock went from 1 to 40, but of course I sold my stock at 15. But
So what did the article in Barron say?
Yeah, what was
it
about
said
that?
it was a cheap stock.
The only one, right? Only article
But
that
that's
said
a
that.
very funny way to be, to watch for 50 years and act once.
How long did it take you to make the 15 bagger on that?
What?
How long did it take to make the 15x on that stock? It went from 1 to 15, right?
Maybe a couple of years.
How long did it take you to make the decision to buy it once you read the article?
Oh, about an hour and a half.
What was it about that company, an auto supply company, that was
Well,
a bad
I kind of knew, based on experience, how sticky some of that auto secondary market was, and how many old cars needed Monroe shock absorbers. And I just knew it was too cheap. I didn't know it would work for sure, but I knew that I just, as I say, people were afraid it was going to go broke, obviously, if their bonds were selling at 35.
Charlie, how do you define the edge of circle of competency?
What?
What's your definition of